Norway is a beautiful country in northern Europe. If we talk about the population, it's quite small, just around 5.5 million people live there. That's even fewer than the population of some big cities like Tokyo, Mumbai, or New York. But when it comes to land, Norway is very big. It covers a large area filled with mountains, forests, rivers, and a long coastline. Still, most of this land is not easy to live on. The northern part of the country is close to the Arctic, so it gets extremely cold during winter. Much of the land is rocky and mountainous, which makes it hard for people to grow food or build big farms. Only a very small part of the land in Norway is suitable for farming, just around 3%. That's one of the lowest in the entire world, and even that small area is not in one single place but scattered across the country. This made it very difficult for Norwegians to grow enough crops or rely on farming like many other countries did. Because of this, some people believed that Norway would never be rich. They thought it didn't have enough resources to become successful. Even today, some people say that Norway was poor until it discovered oil in the North Sea in the 1960s. But that's not really true. Norway was already doing quite well before oil came along. The oil only helped it grow even stronger and richer. But it didn't turn a poor country into a rich one. It made a smart, hard-working country even more successful. Before oil, Norwegians had already learned to use what they had around them, especially the sea, the forests, and the power of water. Norway has one of the longest and most beautiful coastlines in Europe. The coastline has many deep inlets called fjords. These fjords are not only beautiful to look at, but they were also very useful. Hundreds of years ago, they allowed people to travel easily by boat from one place to another. This made sea trade very simple. At the same time, Norway had huge forests filled with trees. In the past, wood was a very valuable material. Many countries needed it to build houses, ships, and tools. Norway had plenty of wood, and it became one of its first important products for trade. Norwegians used their forests to build strong wooden ships. People in small villages would work together to build each ship. Some would cut down trees, others would shape the wood, and many helped build the parts of the ship. When the ship was ready, it was used to trade goods with other countries. The money made from this trade was shared among all the people who helped build it. This way, wealth didn't just go to one person or a small group. It was shared by the community. This system of working together and sharing profits was very important. In many other countries at the time, most of the land and wealth was owned by a few rich families. But in Norway, because people worked together and shared what they earned, the wealth was more balanced. This helped Norway create a stronger and more united society, where many people had a role in the country's progress. The sea and the forests gave Norway its first real wealth. People also traded dried fish, which was another important product, especially during the Middle Ages. By the 1800s, Norway had one of the largest trading ship fleets in the world. The sea was not just something they lived beside, it was part of their daily life and their success. Later, Norway found another powerful gift from nature: water. The country is full of rivers that come from the mountains and flow quickly down to the sea. This fast-moving water was full of energy. In the early 1900s, Norwegians started using this water to make electricity. They built hydroelectric power stations, places that turn flowing water into clean electric power. This electricity was important because it could be used to build factories and industries. At that time, Norway didn't have enough money or experience to build many big power plants on its own. So the government invited companies from other countries to come and help. These foreign companies brought money and engineers to build the hydroelectric dams. But Norway didn't just give everything away. The government made a smart deal. The rules said that after 60 to 80 years, these power stations would automatically become property of the Norwegian state. That meant the foreign companies could use them for many years to make a profit, but later the people of Norway would own them without paying again. This long-term thinking was a big win for Norway. The foreign companies were happy because they still had a chance to make money for many decades. But in the end, Norwegians would benefit the most. Today, more than 90% of the electricity used in Norway comes from hydropower, and most of it is owned by the government. This gave Norway very cheap electricity, which was used to build big industries. One of the most famous companies that used this power was Norsk Hydro. It started making aluminum, a process that needs a lot of electricity. Using cheap and clean energy, Norsk Hydro became a strong company. Even today, it is one of Norway's biggest industrial companies, and the government still owns part of it. So even before oil was discovered, Norway had already built a strong economy using its forests, rivers, and coastline. People worked together. They made smart deals, and they used their natural resources in a clever and responsible way. This helped the country grow slowly and steadily. When oil was finally discovered in the 1960s, it added a lot of money to an economy that was already healthy. This is not just a story of natural resources, it's also a story of planning, community, and smart decisions. Norway is a great example of how a small population and difficult land can still become strong if people learn how to use what they have wisely and share the benefits with each other. Before Norway ever found oil, it had already shown the world that it could use its natural resources wisely. The discovery of oil came later, and it changed the country's future in a big way. In the early 1900s, most people didn't believe there was oil or gas under the sea around Norway. In fact, some scientists even said it was impossible. But everything changed in 1959, when a huge natural gas field was found in the Netherlands. This field, called Groningen, was the biggest in all of Europe at the time. The discovery made people start to wonder if the North Sea next to Norway might also hold some oil or gas beneath its waters. In 1962, an American company called Phillips Petroleum sent a request to the Norwegian government. They wanted permission to search for oil in Norway's part of the North Sea. But there was a big problem. No one had clearly drawn the borders in the sea. Countries like the UK, Denmark, and Norway all shared the North Sea, and they hadn't agreed yet on who owned which part. In 1965, Norway and the United Kingdom came to a simple agreement. They drew a line right down the middle of the sea. Norway was lucky, because the many islands along its coast were counted in its favor. That meant Norway got a larger part of the sea than it might have otherwise. After this deal, Norway began giving oil companies permission to search. In 1967, a small amount of oil was found at a place called Balder. But getting that oil out of the ground was very difficult and expensive. Then, just before Christmas in 1969, something big happened. Phillips Petroleum found a huge amount of oil deep in the sea. This discovery was named the Ekofisk field, and it turned out to be one of the largest underwater oil fields in the world. Norway began pumping oil from Ekofisk in 1971. In the years that followed, even more oil and gas fields were discovered in Norway's part of the North Sea, including names like Statfjord, Oseberg, and Troll. Once oil was found, the Norwegian government moved quickly and wisely. They didn't want foreign companies to take full control, so they created a new oil company, owned completely by the Norwegian state. This company was first called Statoil. Today its name is Equinor. The government remembered what they had done earlier with hydropower. Back then they allowed foreign companies to build power stations, but made sure they would belong to Norway in the future. With oil, they used a similar idea. Foreign companies were needed because they had the tools, money, and experience. But Norway made a rule. Statoil had to own more than half of every project. This rule made a big difference. It meant Statoil was always involved. By working with large international companies, Statoil quickly learned how to find oil and gas, how to drill deep under the sea, and how to build the huge structures needed far offshore. And Norway already had experience building ships, which helped them develop offshore platforms and equipment. Norwegian companies worked side by side with foreign experts. In time, Statoil became stronger and more skilled. Today, under the name Equinor, it is one of the world's top energy companies. It still works around the globe, and the Norwegian government still owns a big part of it. Equinor now produces most of the oil and gas that comes from Norway's part of the sea. This smart approach helped Norway do something many other oil-rich countries have struggled with, keeping control of their resources while gaining the knowledge and experience to manage everything on their own. While some countries became rich from oil but also faced serious problems, Norway took a different path. Many oil-rich nations suffer from corruption. In those places, a small group of people take the money, while most of the population stays poor. Often these countries are ruled by powerful leaders who are not elected fairly, and many of them depend only on oil for their income. But Norway didn't fall into these traps. Even after finding great oil wealth, Norway stayed one of the most democratic and fair countries in the world. It remained honest, with low corruption and strong public trust. The money from oil wasn't used for just a few people. It was used to build schools, hospitals, roads, and services that helped everyone. The country managed its oil income carefully, avoiding the mistakes that many others had made. Long before Norway discovered oil in the late 1960s, it was already doing quite well. It wasn't a poor country waiting to be saved by oil money. Norway had a long tradition of democracy, where the people chose their leaders and shared decisions. It also had a culture of working together and sharing resources. This way of thinking came from its history. For many years, Norwegians had used the power of their rivers to make electricity. They also managed their forests in a smart way, cutting down trees and selling wood while still protecting the land. In both cases, many people worked together and shared what they earned. In Norway, wealth and power were not kept by just a few rich people or a king in the capital. Instead, they were more spread out. People often owned things together, and the profits from big projects were shared with the community. Also, Norway had very low levels of corruption. That means public money wasn't stolen or wasted. Leaders were expected to serve the people honestly, and most of them did. In many other countries that discovered oil, the situation was very different. Some of those places were poor at the time, with weak governments or unfair political systems. Often a small group of leaders took control of the oil money and used it to stay in power. Instead of helping the whole country, the money made the rich even richer and gave powerful people even more control. This made life harder for ordinary citizens and allowed corruption to grow. But Norway took a different path. It already had strong systems in place when oil was found. The government was stable. The culture was based on fairness and sharing. People believed that natural resources like oil and gas belonged to everyone, not just a few. So when the oil money started coming in, it went to help the whole country, not just the powerful few. Still, even for Norway, the discovery of oil brought big changes. In the 1970s and early 1980s, the price of oil was very high around the world. Norway's economy grew fast. The country earned a lot of money by selling oil and gas. For a while things looked great. But the economy also became too dependent on oil. That means Norway started relying too much on just one thing for its wealth. This turned out to be dangerous. Oil prices can go up and down suddenly because of world events. In 1986, the price of oil dropped very low without warning. The fall was so sharp that it caused big problems across Norway. Many businesses lost money. Jobs were lost. The whole economy went into a difficult period. By 1988, Norway was facing a serious recession. That hard time taught Norway an important lesson. They realized that putting all their hope in oil was a mistake. If oil prices fell again, the whole country could suffer once more. So Norway decided they needed a better plan, a way to protect the economy from the ups and downs of oil prices. After the oil crisis of the 1980s, Norway learned an important lesson. It's risky to depend too much on just one thing, like oil. So the country decided it needed a plan to protect its future. In 1990, Norway started something very special, a national savings account, often called the oil fund. This fund takes the extra money that Norway makes from selling oil and gas and saves it for the future, for children, grandchildren, and generations not yet born. But the money isn't just kept sitting in a bank. The oil fund invests it all over the world. It buys small shares in companies called stocks, and even owns parts of buildings and land in different countries. Think of it like planting seeds today so you'll have food tomorrow. There are very strict rules for this fund. The government is only allowed to take out a little bit of the money each year, about 3% of the total. This rule makes sure that leaders can't just spend everything quickly. Instead, the money continues to grow over time and stays safe for the future. Today, Norway's oil fund is one of the largest in the entire world. It owns pieces of thousands of companies in many different countries. In fact, it owns around 1.5% of all the companies on the world's stock markets. That means when businesses around the world grow and make money, Norway's fund grows too. It's a powerful tool that helps the whole country. This fund helps pay for schools, hospitals, roads, and many other things that people in Norway need. It also means that Norway doesn't have to rely only on selling oil and gas to pay its bills. Instead, the country uses clean energy sources like rivers and waterfalls, what we call hydropower, and also wind. About 95% of the electricity used in Norway comes from these clean sources. That's a smart move, because Norway doesn't need a lot of oil and gas for itself. It can sell most of it to other countries. And now many people in Norway drive electric cars. These cars run on electricity from clean energy, not oil, so even more oil and gas can be sold abroad, and the money goes right into the oil fund. It's a simple but strong plan. Use clean energy at home, sell the oil and gas, and save the money for the future. This is how Norway protects its economy. The oil fund is a big reason why the country continues to grow stronger and wealthier. Even when the oil is gone one day, the money saved in the fund will still be there ready to help the people of Norway. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about having oil, it's about what you do with it. Then came 2022. Russia started a war in Ukraine. Suddenly, many European countries didn't want to buy oil and gas from Russia anymore. They needed a new, trustworthy supplier. Norway was ready. It had plenty of oil and gas, and was close to Europe, so it stepped in and became one of Europe's most important energy providers. In 2022 alone, Norway made about $120 billion from selling oil and gas. The next year, 2023, it earned even more, over $130 billion. Compare that to just $29 billion in 2021, before the war. That's a massive increase. Norway is using this extra money wisely. A big part of it is going straight into the oil fund to help future generations. At the same time, Norway is also investing in the search for even more oil and gas in areas like the Barents Sea in the far north. It's also building new pipelines to send even more energy to Europe. Today, Norway is Europe's top supplier of energy, replacing Russia's old position. But the future looks even brighter. Recently, a huge amount of phosphate was discovered deep underground. This mineral is very important for making fertilizer and batteries, things the world needs more and more. In southern Norway, something amazing was discovered: phosphate. Phosphate is a special material that the world needs a lot. It helps farmers grow food because it's used in fertilizer. It's also important for making batteries, especially for electric cars and other green technologies. And guess what? This new discovery in Norway is the biggest phosphate find in the world. It has enough phosphate to meet the whole planet's needs for the next 50 years. This makes Norway very important, not just for oil and energy, but also for the future of farming and clean technology. But that's not all. The company that found the phosphate believes there's even more underground. They think there might be huge amounts of valuable metals, like titanium and vanadium. These are the metals that help build things like airplanes, computers, and even submarines. Right now, many countries depend on places like China to get these materials. But if Norway has them too, Europe and other friendly nations could buy them from a stable and trusted country like Norway. That would be a big deal. This means Norway is not only a key player in energy, but may soon become a major supplier of rare and critical materials for technology and industry. It's a future filled with possibility, strength, and smart planning. So, what's the biggest lesson other countries can learn from Norway? It's this: don't just use your natural resources, invest them. Plan for tomorrow, not just today. Use clean energy, save wisely, and build a future that lasts. That's the smart path Norway is on, and it's an inspiring example for the whole world. Hey, before you go, if you learned something new today, please give this video a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, but it really helps us keep creating great English learning content just for you. Thank you for watching till the end of the story. Take care, and see you next time with another interesting topic. Have a wonderful day.